Hey guys, Value Venture Investing here today. So wow, we're seeing Apple stock just get crushed. Where are we at today? We're down to about $186. I figured it might settle somewhere around 185. So I've actually got a market order in at 185, and because I think this is, quite frankly, this has happened a couple times in the past, an early Christmas gift. But really, I mean, what's going on? We're now seeing Apple trading at like 17 times earnings. For a company that has this much potential, this much cash, this is just insane, guys. So years ago, I thought I would show this, this little bit of an insight with you in regards to, just the pricing of Apple. I realize that these are different sectors, but years ago, I, heard an analyst comparing Apple to Clorox bleach. So taking a look at Clorox bleach right now, it's trading at like 26 times earnings. I mean, Apple's what, 16, 17, depending on if you're looking at forward PE or current PE. Just insane, right? So that's showing me that investors are more bullish on Clorox bleach to innovate, or that their, that the revenue is going to grow than Apple, even considering all the factors that I've talked about in my other videos about Apple, all the amazing stuff. It's just insane, the price of Apple, how cheap it is. It's just crazy. And if you look at, Clorox's income statement here, just for a quick look, I mean, all of 2018, yeah, they're a good company, they're doing well, they made $6 billion, but I mean, we're looking at Apple making like 265. When you go down to the net income, they're only making roughly at $823 million, and this in comparison to Apple at that multiple, I mean, you can make your own judgment, but I thought it was just kind of a funny thing to put out there. So the biggest question in a lot of people's minds is, what's happening, right? So what's going on? Well, the biggest, driver of this, I think, is just basically being the market pulling back as a whole. As you guys are probably aware, I have my, my mindsets on that, the long-term investing. I'll actually put a link to that video right up there right now, so you guys can watch that. So if you're freaking out at the market right now, please watch that video. It gives you some really good perspective. But back on Apple, I mean, we have a little bit of that, the geopolitical risk, the market risk, interest rates rising. But what kind of took it in a nosedive again the last couple of days was this news that one of Apple's suppliers, who Apple is one of the biggest, customers of them, is saying that one of their biggest customers, or one of their bigger customers, has, requested less of the parts for their laser technology for face recognition. So to me, yeah, that could be huge. That could signal that that there's going to be less iPhones that are going to be sold, that are, the sales numbers are going to go down, unit sales. And that's possible. I tend to think that's not going to be the case for Q1, but we have to look at that in some, in some other perspective as well. I mean, is that Apple? Is Apple even still dealing with them? I mean, Apple is famous for getting different component suppliers, right? This is one teeny bit of an iPhone. So can we go and make that assumption? I mean, to me, it seems like conjecture, and the market is just freaking out about it, and the compounding effect has just been crazy. So that's essentially what's happening. You probably heard of that already. But one other thing a lot of people don't know is, like, have we seen this before? When you talk to the bears about Apple, it's always the same thing. It's always the, the lack of innovation, the lack of Steve Jobs. We've been hearing this since Steve Jobs died. I think the first time that we really saw this was back in 2013 in recent history. I mean, this has been going on from way back in the day when they were just producing the iPod, and that was 60-some% of the revenue. People were saying, well, they're not diversified enough, they can't sell that forever, that sort of thing, and they were nothing like the company they are right now. But in 2013, the stock was about down, it was about 45% it took down. It was taken down then, and there was some crazy stuff being said. I mean, people were comparing it to Nokia, people were comparing it to, MySpace, it was the end of the world. And then again, I mean, after 2013, we saw in 2015, the stock dropped by about 30%. And it was, back then, it was basically the same sort of fear that we're seeing in the market right now. Interest rates rising, slowdown in China. It's always the same story. Stock fell again. The next time that we saw it was in 2016, and this is the most recent one that I remember, when they came out with new iPhones, and it was all doom and gloom about unit sales are going to fall. The stock, was really quite stable. It was mostly flat throughout that years, and they were talking about longer upgrade cycles, all the same things that that people are talking about right now. So, I mean, the big question is, what's next for the iPhone? This to me is what is on, in my opinion, what's on everyone's mind, but it's not the bigger picture, I think that Apple is so much more than the iPhone now and will continue to be more than the iPhone. But the question is what's in store for the iPhone? So let's take a look at that real quick. So these are the two most recent time frames, 2016 and 2017, 2017, 2018. So 16, like I said, was the last kind of notable time I remember there's a lot of fear in the market in respect to Apple. So we saw the stock itself appreciate about 3%, which, so-so, basically almost flat in some people's minds. 17 to 18, though, we saw 18% gain, and then even more this year. You saw how much the stock just ran up this year. So the question is, all the fear was in 16 towards the future. Then what ended up happening? The stock ended up rallying like crazy. But some of these concerns actually sort of came true, or did come true. And in some respect, it's harder to see long term if they will actually be true. But if you looked at iPhone unit sales, from 16 to 17, they were up 2%, which wasn't huge. And again, people were concerned and whatnot. But 17 to 18, we actually saw those numbers be flat, right? And so the concern again going forward, the same concern that was in 2016 was, are they going to be flat again? Are they going to decline? But the bigger picture, I think, is if you look at the actual revenue derived. Okay, so revenue was up 3%, and we're talking about iPhone still. 3% between 2016 and 2017, but between 17 and 18, it was up 18%. But what's going on here? It's like, these are pretty much in line. The unit sales were up 2%, so the revenue was up 3%. The stock was about the same, flat. But, we saw the unit sales flat between 2017 and 2018, and the stock just rallied. Well, why is that? Well, that's because of the revenue, right? It's the ASPs, right? I'll write that there. ASPs, that's average selling price. Those have been increasing. And so the worry was that with that is that they cannot continue to increase those ASPs. However, there's so many different factors that come into Apple, but I thought this was just a little good representation of what was going on. Some of the other ones, I'll actually just jump down here. Some of the other factors that we see, the geographic segments. We're seeing double-digit growth in all of their geographic segments still, and there's still so much room. We talk about market saturation, but that's mainly in some parts of Europe and in North America. In different parts, Apple's struggling. Apple's been struggling slightly in India. There's so much room for growth in different geographic segments. We've seen EPS skyrocket. Why is EPS skyrocket? Well, because the revenues went up, not just from the iPhones, from everything else. We've seen them buying back shares. They've got so much cash, $237 billion in cash, and they hope to be net cash neutral, I think by 2020 or something like that. So that gives you a perspective of what they're going to do. Either return the cash to shareholders, or they're going to be investing a lot. And by the way, they spend a ton on research and development. And then again, one of the other hugest things that I always talk about, so I shouldn't talk about it much more, is services. Services is growing so fast that even if unit sales drop or stay flat, they're still going to be more profitable. They're going to make more money. And that's all that matters in the long run. But people's concerns are, what's going to happen after that? Well, there's always product lines that are happening. Look at, I've spoken about the wearables. Look how the wearables category is growing. And a huge portion of that is just the watch. So people would say Apple's not innovative, but that small little segment is already creating so much revenue. So, it's actually deriving so much to the bottom line, but it just looks minuscule versus Apple's $265 billion revenue quarter, right? But it's these types of things that are really going to take hold, and you don't even know what else is on the horizon. There's been talk about the car. Apple's getting in all this. People seem to talk about Apple like it's in a vacuum. That's what's so bizarre to me. Is it's just like, well, we see these amazing numbers. All you got to do is look at their income statement. We can take a look at it right now. These numbers are just phenomenal. And it's just like when people look at this stock, they think that it's in a vacuum. It's going to be dead tomorrow. It's stopping. The growth is falling. But this kind of talk has been going on forever. And who definitely understands that this kind of stock's been going on forever and understands a long-term perspective? It's Buffett. And, I watched an interview with Buffett and his partner, and basically they were saying that they wish they had bought more sooner. They wish they could buy more. So I can bet you any amount of money that that Buffett is going to be buying more Apple, and it's just basically like a fire sale, right? So you got to keep the long-term perspective in mind with Apple. Here again, I just felt the need to make a video because it's so cheap. I mean, it's just incredible. Like I said, I've got an order in it. This is just my opinion. You know, I'm not a financial advisor. Definitely look at your own situation. It's something that I've talked about a lot, but it's kind of crazy when you see a stock fall down this quick and you've seen it happen this many times in the past. It's always the same story, guys. So it'll be interesting to see how far it actually falls. I hope it hits the 185 because I had a limit order to buy at 185. I didn't quite hit it today. But from there, within the next 5-10 years, mark my words, I mean, Apple's going to do great. And Q1 next year, I think, is going to be another record quarter for Apple. They're even guiding $89 to $93 billion in revenue, which is massive, and that's still not good enough. So wait to see what happens. Wait till after the holiday quarter. I think it's going to be phenomenal. Just wanted to do a quick video for you guys to let you know what's going on, let you know what my mindset was, and I'd love to hear your opinions down below. Especially if you've been around, you've been following Apple for a very long time, and you've seen these types of things before. What's the perspective? What's changed? Do you think it's different this time than all the other times in the past, or are you still bullish on Apple? So that's going to be it for today, guys. I mean, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification button too, because you won't get notifications that I've made a new video unless you hit that. And then that way you can get my videos as quick as possible, especially if they're very timing specific. So that's going to be it for today, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.